Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Congress continues to grapple with President Biden's American Families Plan and how to pay for it, with taxes being an important avenue and changes to something that could impact producers, closing the so-called stepped-up basis provision. Under the proposal, unrealized capital gains, those that have never been previously taxed, would be taxed at death above $2 million in gains per couple. USDA is saying in a release the plan would not affect family farms that stay in the family. Under current law, those assets can be passed on to heirs without being subject to capital gains tax. Well, the agency's Economic Research Service supplying this graphic showing what possible changes would mean to family farm estates. It says more than 80% of family farmers would have no change to capital gains taxes. Another 18% would not be taxed at death, with the potential to defer tax on some farm gains. And only about 1% would be taxed at death. Well, this week, Farm Journal's AgriTalk taking an in-depth look at the issue. Chip Flory spoke with USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack. He said many farmers' analysis of the possible stepped-up basis change is mostly inaccurate.
I understand and appreciate the criticism that I've gotten, but the reality is the criticism is based on a incomplete analysis of the tax proposal. It's one thing if what was proposed was that the only folks who qualify for the exemption, if you will, are those whose family continue to own and operate the farm. But they've forgotten, in their calculations and review, they've forgotten about the exemption levels of $1 million per person, $2 million per couple if there's a homestead, $2.5 million per couple. When you apply that combined with the exemption for owner and operator, you get 98% of the farms, almost 99% of the farms not covered by this.
AgriTalk also speaking with Republican Senator John Boozman of Arkansas. He recently, like Secretary Vilsack, wrote an op-ed about the issue in the Wall Street Journal. Now, he says the information from USDA is incorrect, citing a recent Texas A&M study he requested on the subject. It found if the step-up in basis was eliminated, it would impact most family farms.
Every farm group has come out against it, but the administration desperately needs pay-fors for this massive spending package that is probably $3.5 to $4.5 trillion. They need pay-fors. And this is one that they simply won't let go, even though it would be devastating to family farms and then also small and medium-sized businesses.
AgriTalk's Chip Flory joins us now. And Chip, you've been talking to some of the difference makers on this tax topic.
And maybe the strongest take that we had on what is going on came from AFBF President Zippy Duvall when he was talking about the liabilities of the deferred tax payments that a lot of farmers are going to be looking at under this new pay for of this huge $3.5 trillion bill.
When you defer that tax, that implies that there's going to be a tax eventually collected at a later generation as you pass it on. And that liability of that tax is going to be hanging over your farm all during that time. So it could eventually affect the opportunity to get an operating loan because that liability is hanging over you. And who knows what else it might cause, the hardships it might cause. You know, we have a stepped-up basis in a system now that takes care of this issue, and we don't need to be fixing what's broke.
And Chip will be discussing this and other topics during AgriTalk later today. Make sure to check that out.